is Joe Bitar.
This is Ramon Robles.
And we talk to fascinating people about their love of hunting, shooting sports, and the outdoors. This is Hunting Matters.
Ramon Robles.
Good to see you, Dr. Bitar.
Haven't seen you in a couple weeks, man.
Everything good? You got some animals behind you there. I don't know if you noticed.
Good. See my LSU helmet?
Oh, yeah. Do they play?
My Tigers pulled out a tough one versus Ole Miss in overtime. We never led the whole game, and then we won in overtime.
And what, ranked 7th or something?
Yeah, 7th or 8th now.
I think it's too high.
Yeah, it was a good weekend, good football weekend.
As of this recording, they are in the top 10.
Okay.
So we'll just go back to this.
They're in the top 10, and we have Arkansas next week. So what's been going on with you, Ramon?
Not a lot. I'm trying to think. Oh, well, of course, we're getting ready for Halloween. It's the kids' favorite holiday. I mean, we get to go to strangers' doors, and they'll give us candy.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Can't beat that. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Halloween, actually, this year. And we had a little cool weather last night, so hopefully it won't be 100 degrees.
No, beautiful,
man. So today, joining us, Ramon. I know you're a kind of a close hound.
Yes.
So Theresa and Ron Miskin of the Buffalo Wool Company. I've been affiliated they don't know me, but I know them. I have been using their products for many years. In fact, I still have the same pair of fingerless gloves, the Advantage fingerless gloves that I bought years and years ago that are in my backpack, and I bought them specifically for bow hunting, and I love them. Because I can wear them, temperatures vary a lot in Texas during hunting season. I can wear them just about in any climate, but I love having the fingers out. So Theresa and Ron, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you very much for having us. This is an honor here.
We'll let you determine that when this is over.
We'll ask again in an hour.
Yeah, Ramon usually gives our guest a chance or an option to bow out after about 10 minutes if the foolishness and nonsense is too much. So where are you guys talking to us from today?
We're out in Weatherford, Texas, just about an hour west of Fort Worth.
Oh, Ramon, when I think Buffalo, I'm thinking they're up in Montana.
Yeah.
They're in the mountains, and Weatherford, Texas. So we're talking to some of our Texas brethren here, and the Buffalo Wool Company. I'm going to mention it several times during the podcast, but their website is buffalowoolco.com. And I'll probably say this again too, but shopping season is coming. Christmas and the holidays is coming, man. And I have got a list, as I know you do, Ramon, of things that are on the wish list now. Some new stuff I'm seeing here. But guys, we want to talk to you a little bit about your company and your background and that sort of thing. So tell us a little bit about yourselves. Have you always been in the buffalo business, the wool business? How did you guys get started?
Well, honestly, no, we have not been in the buffalo business forever. My family did start raising bison in the 80s. And when you talk about Texas bison, there are more bison ranches in Texas than any other state in the country.
Wow.
Really? Yeah, there are 77 registered ranches in the state of Texas,
wow.
And honestly, most of them are pretty small. We don't have any, 10,000 animal herds like South Dakota does. But there's plenty of people that have been working on this comeback. But that wasn't the question. You asked how we got started. Totally accident. I had restaurants. Theresa was a social worker. And my father called me one day and said, I've got all this buffalo hair. What should we do with it? And he put it on eBay. And a lady in Boston and a lady in Colorado started bidding against each other. And that 3-pound box of nasty, dirty buffalo hair that he'd been picking up off the fence line and brush and blackberry bushes and such, that 3-pound box of buffalo hair sold for $420. And you kind of go, why? What? That started a whole new series of learning about. And first, we learned how to clean the fiber, get it washed and then de-haired, separate that coarse, crunchy stuff, so that hand spinners could sit at a spinning wheel and make their own yarn. And then as we learned to do these things, we learned how to spin and then learned how to knit and then weave. And then at some point, there was a fly fishing shop in Gatlinburg, Tennessee that was selling, actually, let me back up. The wife had a yarn shop on one side, and the husband had a fly fishing shop on the other side. And they just started selling yarn like crazy. And it turns out they were knitting fingerless gloves for fly fishermen because it wicks like crazy. It stays warm when it's wet. It is basically impervious to cold, and it just works. So next thing we know, we started looking around the U.S. for somebody who could knit us some gloves. And, here we are 15 years later, and we make stuff.
That's cool. That's cool.
Now, before we get too deep into the interview, are the words bison and buffalo interchangeable, or there is a difference, right?
Well, everything we have in North America are the American Plains Bison or woods bison. We don't have buffalo, which would be like the water buffalo, the Cape buffalo, the Asiatic buffalo. Although we've called them buffalo since, we got here.
Yeah.
And, when you actually talk to somebody who's raising them, they don't care.
Okay.
But when I do have to label a product, we label it with American Bison.
Yeah.
But then again, we're the buffalo wool company, so it's not wool, it's not buffalo, and it makes no sense whatsoever.
You gotcha. I've worked with Joe for 2 years, and he never took time out to explain that to me. So I appreciate you, Ron.
Well, I'm totally confused, but
Well, the company name came from the 1870s. It was part of the Hudson Bay Company. But
Red River, Manitoba.
yeah, by the time we got around to wanting a name for a company, they weren't using it anymore, so we stole it.
Nice.
Gotcha. There you go. For me, being as a kid, I used to love Westerns and shows about mountain men and that sort of thing. And I think that the bison has a certain amount of, and I'm sure you guys deal with it all the time, so I don't know if the romanticism is there anymore, but to me, the bison is symbolic of our history in the Old West, and there's a lot of romanticism. And I'm thinking about the novels and the movies and things I've read and watched over the years as growing up. Does this animal, this mammal, hold the same attraction to you guys?
I will never. Yeah, absolutely. You will never. I don't care who you are. I don't care how hard your heart is or whatnot. You can't look at a bison out in the plains and just see back into history and see what this country was from the beginning and what could be again. So yeah, they're just majestic. You can't look at them and not think that.
And to back that point up, I took the family to Yellowstone this spring or last summer, actually. And when those things get out on the road and they're right next to your vehicle and you see just in fact how big and beautiful and majestic they are, you go, wow. I mean, looking at them at 200 yards, over there versus looking at them, eye to eye, they're special animals.
Oh, they really are. It's a privilege to be able to work with them, and it's really an honor to start getting to know these people that have created the greatest comeback story in history. We got down to just a few of these things at the turn of the century, and nowadays we're over 500,000 between U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
How many did you say?
Last I saw, we were just over 500,000 between the U.S. and Canada.
Wow.
And most of those are in private herds. I mean, there are some conservation organizations such as Yellowstone, Caprock Canyon, Flat Lake, but most of them are privately raised.
Got it. So take me back just a little bit. Was it your dad that started the business?
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of got the idea and things rolling, and you guys took it and ran with it.
He got the idea, started rolling. We started what was originally called the Brown Hair Project, trying to get bison ranchers to collect fiber and make it available. And then he and I, in 2005, started a company called Buffalo Gold, just selling the fiber for hand spinners, and then evolved into yarns. Theresa joined me in 2011, and we founded the Buffalo Wool Company, doing more of the ready-to-wear stuff and getting on that end of it.
Got it. So you guys, looking at your website and some of the information you shared with me, you guys basically operate in a network too. There's bison ranchers, there's independent mills, there's local manufacturers and all this thing. How do all those parts work together to bring us socks and clothing and all these great things you guys create?
Well, it obviously starts with the rancher, and the reason that this was started originally, again, with Dad and the Hair Project, is trying to find a part of the animal that didn't have value and find a way to add value to it, because bison ranching has never been an extremely profitable endeavor. Most people get into it for the passion of the animals. But when you're raising anything, the more parts of it that you can sell that actually have a commercial value, the more worthwhile it is to raise those animals, the more incentive there is to people to become bison ranchers. So what we do now is we primarily shear the hides at the packing plants when the bison are processed for meat. So we'll station a couple of shearing crews at the different plants, and when the animals are processed, we shear the hides. And from there, it goes to a scouring plant where the fiber has to get washed, because you don't want it smelling like a wet buffalo. And there's been a little learning curve on that, but we can pretty well denature the fiber completely of any sense without any chemicals, which is really kind of. And then it has to be de-haired, separate that coarse, crunchy guard hair, the outer stuff, from that fine, soft down that we use for the really insulating products. And then, excuse me. And then it has to go to be spun into yarn. You can't make anything out of it if you don't have the yarn available. So we work with spinning mills around the United States. Currently, most of our production is done at a mill up in Wisconsin, and they just do an amazing job of blending the fiber, spinning it into yarn, and then we send it to a sock mill in Osage, Iowa. We've got a knitter just outside of Liberty Hill, Texas. It does an amazing job on the beanies and balaclavas and scarves and such. We work with a felt mill in Maine, just trying to keep everything American made and keep U.S. textile workers working. From when we started doing this 20 years ago, I've watched more spinning mills and construction companies just close. We have lost a lot of the United States textile expertise and equipment.
Right. Well, it sounds like, two things that were kind of front of mind for me. Number one is the bison and the fact that you use everything from the snout to the tail. It eliminates it from just being a commodity. That's the same principle of hunting and conservation, is that, if there's no value to it, it's going to go away. It's like potato farmers. If nobody's going to eat French fries, people are going to stop growing potatoes. So it's really good to see you guys are actually helping conserve this majestic animal, the American Plains bison. And the other thing is Ramon and I are both of the opinion that we love the fact that things are done in the U.S. and that so many people are affected by this process. And I hate to be corny, but I slip on my pair of gloves now, and I'm going to go. Not only are they cool and they warm, but a whole lot of people are making their living off of this product.
And that's the biggest thrill for us, is being able to go and talk to the people at the mills, and we get feedback, we exchange ideas, and we know that what we do helps provide a living, and that's a pretty cool thing. And being able to shake the hand of the people that you work with, that's wonderful.
My question for Ron or Theresa, whoever wants to answer this, I'm currently shopping for socks, and if I want an everyday pair, which one am I going to want to pick? Because there's a lot here.
Are you in Houston?
I am.
The Boss sock is a great sock. It's a short sock, goes in tennis shoes, short hiking boots. We've got marathon runners that use them. The Casual Crew 2.0 are a nice thin sock that is great to transition from the cold winter into the office or wherever you're going.
Okay.
That's a good everyday one that you can just put in pretty much any boot or any shoe you got.
And that was the Boss sock, you said?
Boss sock and the 2.0 Crew.
Got it.
The Casual Crew.
Joe, you need anything while I'm in here? Can I add anything to the cart?
Yeah, can you grab me a pair of the Advantage Gear compression socks? My ankles have been swelling a little bit lately, and I'm not going to stop eating salt, so I need some compressions because I'm an old man now. Yeah, grab me a couple pair.
Yep.
I need boot socks, and I need them for hunting. So, Ramon brings up a good point. Tell our listeners and our viewers here a little bit, how broad is this product line? I mean, I know you can't go through all of it, but kind of walk us through the general categories of things that people can find on your website.
Well, when we started, we made a pair of socks and really thought, that's all you need is a pair of socks. Well, then
That would be the Casual Crew.
Yeah, the Casual Crew were our first. It was just an everyday basic flat knit sock. Well, the more you get to know people and you realize how many different activities are out there, how many different types of footwear, what the different climates are like. All of a sudden, it just kind of goes, and next thing you know, you kind of get excited about a project. Like you're talking about the compression socks. I had very little knowledge or I'd never worn compression socks, but we started getting a lot of requests from customers. And so you start playing with it, you learn, and then you do.
There's actually doctors and nurses in the OR that wanted them.
Yeah, if you look at them, we have some with the EKG stuff on it, mostly because it is medical professionals. But we focus on hunting and outdoors because that's who we are. That's what we do. We hunt, we fish, we hike, we climb, we like doing silly things outdoors. And so that was mostly making stuff that we wanted because it didn't exist. And that's driven a lot of our stuff. But lately there have been more, you get to know people, you see the need, and then all of a sudden you try and fill that need. We've just recently started a line of kids stuff. We swore we'd never do kids things because, kids have
lose things, they outgrow them quickly, right?
good circulation.
Right.
But we spend a lot of time in Alaska and have gotten pretty involved in the mushing community up there. And then you start meeting little kid mushers. We've got one, Spencer Sterling. He's 7 years old.
He's older than that now, but yeah, he started.
He started at 7 years old doing 20-mile runs with one dog.
Wow.
And I'm going to support and protect any kid that's doing something like that, right? That's stuff you want to encourage.
Yep.
So you want to make sure that they have the best gear possible.
And that kids line is called the Red Dog Kids line, right?
Yeah.
What all is included in that?
So far, it's just socks and hats.
Okay.
Socks and beanies, yeah.
Yeah.
Socks and we're still getting started on that and trying to figure out what makes sense. We've had some issues with, again, we lost 2 spinning mills in the last 2 years. So our production kind of got slowed down. We got behind on glove yarns. So that's why our glove scenario is pretty weak at the moment. But yeah, we haven't had time to get into kids' gloves yet.
But you also got to be a little conscious with the products that you want to introduce. I mean, you can't get over your skis, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, that's very true. And again, we've kind of gotten to our capacity. It's me and T and my sister-in-law and one other friend who we work out of our little mini ranch here. We have turned our horse barn into a warehouse, but we're kind of at the end of how much we can actually do.
Yeah.
So
It's really limited by the fiber.
yeah,
Sure.
that's the other side to it is there's only so much available.
You can't like sneak cat hair in there to thin it out a little bit and stretch it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah,
The other people do that, but not y'all.
no.
Obviously, you're in this business to make a living. But it seems to me that the general theme behind your story is to, help preserve the American Plains bison. Are you guys involved with any organizations or any groups or anything as far as direct hands-on dealing with these bison and proliferation of the species, or kind of how does that play into your business model?
Well, it plays very strongly into our business model. Currently, I serve on the board of directors of the National Bison Association, and Theresa is on the board of directors of the National Buffalo Foundation. We've been involved I was Texas Bison Association president or vice president for, 12 years. And I'm actually cooking. If you're available, not this coming weekend, but weekend after next, we are having the Texas Bison Conference out in East Texas, Greenville, and I'm cooking. So it'll be fun.
I'd love to go, my man, but I tell you one thing, I'll be sitting in a deer blind.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That would be too.
But Ramon, I saw Ramon's eyes light up when you said you're cooking.
Yeah, are you cooking bison?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love a bison burger. They're delicious.
We'll have burgers and steaks. I've got calf fries for appetizers for Saturday night. That's something I have never served before. I've eaten them, but it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But my father was one of the founders of the Texas Bison Association, and this conference coming up is our 30th anniversary. So that's sort of a big deal. As far as other involvement in bison, Theresa and I were on the team that really pushed hard to get bison selected for national mammal. At the time, we were traveling around the country and meeting a lot of people, and kind of got active in that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do we because of our history in the United States, we tie the bison in with the Native American people and their tribes. Are there any, and you know, I don't know enough about it. I know enough about it just to be, you know, casually informed, but is there any history? And I know that some Native American peoples hold some bison, you know, like you hear the old thing, I think Ramona, you and I talked about it one time, where if there's a white buffalo or white bison born, that they're considered sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any interactions with Native American tribes or the people as far as the bison go? Are there any of those groups involved in bison, you know, manufacturing like you guys do?
Oh, absolutely. The ITBC, the Intertribal Buffalo Council, is a phenomenal organization that has done some great work. We work directly with Ute Nation for some of our products, hides and things like, and the jerky. Yeah, they
My favorite restaurant's in Denver.
but no, the Native community has done a really good job. They're working very hard to put bison back on tribal lands, and they've been very successful. The organization is really well structured and diverse with different tribes and different nations. The people that we've met, Troy Leinart, the director, is just a phenomenal guy. And I don't know if you've had a chance to look at, we're currently in the middle of a film on bison called Native Prodigies of an Icon. And I'll make sure that you have a link for that if you get a chance. But
Great.
It's really neat seeing bison end up back in the Shoshone tribe. We just got back from Wichita Mountain, which is preserve in Oklahoma that's native run and been running bison for quite a while. Yeah, they're doing good things, very good things.
I asked the question only because I know it's such an intricate part of their history and their culture and their traditions, and I was just kind of curious, not knowing that world that you guys live in.
Well, a lot of it also is helping them with the economics of it, because again, with anything, the world runs on money, and if you're going to do something, it's got to be sustainable, profitable. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to make a living doing it, and watching them be able to provide for just into the native school food system is really amazing. And Turner's organization has actually helped a lot on that, which is kind of interesting. Watching animals, natives be able to have bison for lunch every day at school is pretty flippin' cool.
Yeah. Now, did you say, I meant to ask earlier, did you say the bison was the national mammal?
It is. As of 2016, we got recognized as a national mammal.
I was hoping it would be me, but that's all right.
That's right.
Like you see your profile on the flag.
National mammal.
That's awesome. Let me ask you something kind of out of the industry you guys deal with peripherally. We hear in the hunting and conservation world a lot of times of areas like Yellowstone, the bison herds have started to proliferate, and then they're dropping into Yellowstone, they're dropping into areas that are populated, et cetera, et cetera. And, there's been management periods by the federal government when they go in and they manage these herds by culling. That's the only way to really do it. Because you guys know better than we do. Bison are going to go where bison want to go. I always laugh at people and go, it'd be cool if we had a bison or a buffalo, on our ranch. I'm like, you want to maybe rethink that based on the fences and the feeders and things I see that you have out here. But what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you guys obviously aren't dealing, I don't guess, with the wild bison herds and things like that. But I know it's a big point of controversy sometimes because people in hunting and conservation understand you have to cull herds to maintain herd health. But there's that other side of the group or the other side of the population that's like, oh, you can't. You can't shoot bison. You can't do this, can't do that. I see the look on your face. Or the ones even worse, the big trend on the YouTube videos the last couple of years, the ones who get out and try to pet them and end up 20 feet in the air. I'd kind of like to get y'all's take on that.
Well, because we write a couple of different newsletters for different parts of the organization, we've got all sorts of Google alerts set up for bison in the news. And 3 times a week, there's some Turon who gets thrown by a bison, and that's just stupid.
Yeah.
But to sum up your original question, we were at an event, and somebody comes up to us and says, why can't the bison just roam free like squirrels?
Yeah.
And I go, there's reasons.
Right.
And obviously, they've never been near a bison to understand the concepts.
Yeah.
Well, they can't climb trees, right?
Yeah, right. They're horrible at climbing trees.
Even on private ranches, they're not domesticated. So
Right. Yeah.
They are still very much wild animals, but there have been some really successful wild releases. There's a group up in Alaska that's been releasing wood bison back into the wild for reestablishing the hunting population. And that's been phenomenal. They've done a great job at that. It's still a really hard tag to pull, but family eats well if you do. I do think there's with anything, you gotta, have a little bit of responsibility in what you put out into the environment. Letting wild bison just roam free would probably not be safe for a lot of people, but it sure would be cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I just love seeing them no matter what environment I see them in. It doesn't matter. I just think they're just very cool animals.
part of that calling also puts it back into the meat production. So I don't think people connect that either.
True. That's true.
Yeah, they're not just shooting them and letting them lie. They are going.
They go back into meat production.
And that's what Turner donated some land so that when animals do come out of Yellowstone, they can be held and go into the native food population.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, you forget about that because, I've heard of other countries a few years back. Unfortunately, New Zealand decided they were going to shoot a bunch of tar and let them lie on the side of the mountains. And that's just, I don't know too many people who eat tar, but it's still just the waste. But I know that with the bison, that every time they harvest them, that every part of it goes to some usefulness.
Why would they do that to tar? What was the point behind that?
New Zealand has no native mammals. All those mammals living in New Zealand, stag, tar, chamois, are all imports.
Okay.
Most of them when English settlers came over. And so they have no real predators. And somebody decided, well, there's this little native plant that was being eaten by the tar.
Okay.
And that we needed to decimate some of the tar population and just shoot them from helicopters and let them lie because they were eating native forage.
Wow.
Which is, we fought against that for a couple of years, and it's been stopped and overturned. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, who mandated that, is no longer in office. But they just, not only was it it was a waste of natural resources and animals, but it was also a waste of tourism dollars for these hunters and outfitters and guides and people doing helicopter tours to see these animals because there's a lot of money in that. You look at tourism is probably one of the number one industries in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
But we can go down that rabbit hole all day. But yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
Sterilizing the deer. Oh my God.
Right. Yeah, it's wastefulness of anything just irritates the what out of me. I can't stand it. Can't stand it. You guys don't own any bison, do you? Keep them around the house, in the backyard?
Not at the moment. My father, who had the ranch in Goodnight, Texas, up near Amarillo, literally just sold it about 3 weeks ago to the state of Texas. Yeah. The Charles Goodnight's house was part of the original J.A. Ranch.
Yeah. Okay.
He was Mary Goodnight at the turn of the century is one of the people credited with saving the bison. So they wanted to put bison back on Goodnight's ranch there, and that's where our herd is at the moment. We have 5 acres out here. I've got some longhorns and chickens and pigs and such, but I don't have room. We don't have room for bison. It sure would be nice.
And up to 2020, on the road 40 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you feel about that? About the state of Texas taking over that ranch and trying to bring it back to its origin story?
It's really exciting, and I don't usually get excited about government taking over anything. That's normally just the death knell. Yep. But this is the Historical Society, and they've got some funding, they've got some expertise, and I really do believe they're doing it right. There's a lot of oversight up there just from the community that is keeping an eye on this and making sure that things go right. They've done a beautiful job with the Caprock Canyon herd. We have a friend who's park ranger over there who has done, you want to talk about a well-managed bison herd, Caprock Canyon is one of the best in the country. And if Donald is going to oversee what's happening at Goodnight, that's a very good thing. I think they will do a good job with it.
I will say this about the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. They've been in an acquisition mode the last few years, and it seems to me, outside looking in, that the acquisition of these properties are for historical and restoration purposes. If not much of anything else. That they're not commercializing them. Of course, if you go to a state park, you pay a fee, that sort of thing. But I think they've done a really good job of actually, let's just face it, you've got foreign people coming into the state of Texas and other states and buying up gobs of land and turning it into property for manufacturing plants, that sort of thing. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of the department, but I think some of the focus and the mission of the department of buying these lands up is for the sole purpose of preservation of Texas history, preservation of Texas land, and trying to restore them to their origins.
I wholeheartely agree, and I think it's good to see. We don't have a lot of publicly accessible hunting lands in Texas, as you know. I mean, compared to many other places. But just having the conservation herds is a good thing, and I think it will benefit. Both the parks do have auctions every year to sell off excess animals. Caprock animals are a different strain of plains bison than anything else. The babies are all born black as opposed to the copper colored like typical bison. So when it's a Caprock bison, and they're very much sought after, and the only way you can get them is from the state.
Are there any pure strains of bison still left in the U.S. or in North America?
Well, that question really depends on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. David Durr, he's a geneticist down at Texas A&M.
Yep, we worked with him.
Yeah, excellent. Dr. Durr is a great guy. His philosophy basically is, if it looks like a buffalo, it's a buffalo.
Right.
And most bison, there's a lot of prohibition against crossbreeding. You don't see people raising beefalo that, everybody, I do get asked about that frequently.
Beefalo.
Yep.
Yeah, that doesn't really happen.
Never heard of that.
Bison ranchers don't crossbreed. There is still some cattle genetics left over from bringing them back, but for the most part, their animals are pretty clean.
Got it. Yeah, I was always, because I've heard those stories too. Like, there's only one pure strain of bison remaining in the world, and it's here. And so I didn't know if there was any truth to that, or what the status of it is.
There are what they call 5 foundation herds that were kind of at the turn of the century places that bison still existed. Caprock being one, Flat Lake, Yellowstone, and most of the animals have basically come out of that. Again, there was some crossbreeding, early 1800s, early 1900s into the 60s, 70s, but that hasn't been the case for a while.
Got it.
So what can myself, an average Joe, do to help with the bison population? I mean, what can I actively do to ensure that these animals continue to thrive like they're doing now?
Okay, pretty simple. Fire up your grill. Get some bison steaks. Again, when it has commercial value, that is the biggest incentive to raising and producing more. I mean, if we had put bald eagle recipes on the menu and early, they'd be everywhere.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, I got to get my butcher to look into that. There's a guy who owns a local butcher shop down the street from me, and I don't think he's ever carried bison, or I've never seen it in the rack. He's got just about everything else. Heck, if he makes boudin, he's got to be able to get bison.
There's good ranchers down in your area too. Yeah. So, wow.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about what the menu is for football Saturday this coming weekend. So I'm definitely gonna have to seek that out. So what's What's some of the newest things you guys have come out with besides the kids line? Is there anything else that's kind of new and revolutionary that you're really proud of?
Ultralight for the ladies.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got that.
we've just taken some of the yarn that we make for our Boss products, the bison, it's a bison merino bamboo. We've just made a whole line of hats and scarves and gaiters and gloves for ladies, and that's brand new this season.
They don't like the brown all the time.
Yeah, not everything has to be milk chocolate brown.
Right.
But other than that, really, it just honestly, this year has been sort of a trying to get production back up. We have sold out now pretty much every year that we've been in business.
Wow.
And then this last 2 years, losing 2 spinning mills was a big blow. So we're getting caught back up. The demand is steadily increasing, and we're just trying to do the things that we've done for years, getting our Trekker socks back in stock, the Pro Gear stuff, getting that built back up to meet the demand.
Now you kind of glossed over this this line here, but I'm looking at it. It's bison fiber, merino, bamboo. So forgive my ignorance, but how did you get the bamboo in there?
Well, we live in Texas.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Yeah.
You tell a Texan to go put on wool socks in July, and most of the time you'll get laughed at.
Yeah.
So we really wanted to look at something that would wick and breathe really well. Bison fiber wicks very strongly, but getting something that would add a little bit more ventilation to it and helps. And the bamboo actually helps with that pretty well. Yeah, so that's where that came about. It was basically just experimenting. We have worked with
Designing the somersault.
any number of different fibers, and we'll play with it, see how it performs, see how it feels, see how it wears, and then if it's something that passes muster, we go to production with it.
Got it.
How long would it take
Ramon.
I'm sorry, how long does it take from the time you decide to start making a product to when you can put it on the shelves virtually to sell?
That's a very good question. From harvest to shelf is approximately a year.
A
Wow.
good year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's, like I said, there's a bunch of different steps between the scouring, the dehairing, the blending and the spinning, and then the knitting. And those are done in different places around the U.S. So it's not fast.
Yeah.
We kind of have to keep that pipeline full. But yeah, it's a good year from shear to socks.
And this may sound like a silly question, but when something sells out, is that good or is that bad? Meaning, man, we should have made twice as much, but you can't though, I guess.
Right. You can't just order bison fiber from anywhere.
Yeah.
We have to actually go shear it ourselves.
Which comes back to what type of winter did the animals have and what is our volume for that year. So weather condition comes into what the animals, grow in their.
But as far as if it sells out, yeah, that's usually a good sign, especially that people like it. If we have something that doesn't, it means we did something wrong. It's not like we can make everything in all of it, but we have to kind of plan and figure out, well, we're going to put X number of pounds into this style, X number of pounds into this style.
And there's quality control. I mean, you can't just be turning them out, willy-nilly.
No.
Theresa, you bring up a good point. I know that, in the western mountain states, that the last couple of winters have been really rough on all animals. Have you guys seen those issues in the Texas herds over the past couple of years, or they've been maintaining okay?
That's really your area.
Well, and here's the thing, that a worse winter just means a better coat for the bison. They're not afraid of cold. Their native rangeland goes from north of Barrow, Alaska, down past Mexico City. So -80 does not bother a bison, and these cold winters have done nothing but help our business. And for the most part, the bison herds. The reason that we try and promote them to ranchers, especially in the northern countries, or northern parts of the country, is because they are so much more winter hardy than cattle.
Yeah.
Are there any other factors? I mean, you guys talked about the mills shutting down. We've talked about, availability and that sort of thing. Are there any other challenges you guys face year to year in maintaining stock and inventory and that sort of thing?
I don't think anything more than anyone else. Our biggest distraction is just our being distracted and wanting to go hunt, fish, hike, and play. You know, we have tailored our business to where we get to spend a month in Alaska every year.
Nice.
And so, which is wonderful and fun, and we bring home lots of freezer food, but it's hard. It's a little harder to get everything done while you're out there standing in a river.
Sure.
But,
Ramon, you know what that's like.
I do.
Yeah, right. Oh, darn.
So,
We could work hard.
yeah, go ahead.
I said we could work harder. We could do more. We could outsource to China. We could open a big office, hire a bunch of people, sell to REI and things like that, or Cabela's. That's not who we are. That's not what we want. We want to stay as close to the ranchers as possible and as close to our consumers as possible.
How do
You
you?
still-
ma-
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Ramon.
How do you manage marketing? How do people find out about your product?
We do things like this and talk to people like you. No,
It's a good idea.
that is the best way. Word of mouth has really been what did it for us.
Yeah.
We used to do events all over the country. I don't want to pay Google and Meta to advertise with them. I don't think that's a wise use of funds. I don't know. We do have a pretty large social media following. I write a newsletter every week. That's our best marketing source.
No Super Bowl commercial.
No.
Ramon's asking because, he's a social media influencer. And if you had him model your stuff on his Facebook page or his TikTok or whatever they're using these days. Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to keep up with demand because he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. No, we have a box ready to ship, and I'm sorry we didn't get it out before this.
I don't even know what TikTok is.
This is TikTok to me. That's not it.
Yeah.
Not an Apple Watch either.
I love it.
So you guys obviously love the outdoors. What do you do in your spare time when you go to Alaska? You spend time in the outdoors. What are you doing out there?
Mostly we're fishing. That's my happy spot, standing in a river throwing flies at something. That's hers as well.
fishing and wildlife photography.
Yeah, Teresa's a wildlife photographer. She's determined to get eaten by something.
Yeah. Be a great
Whether
shot.
it's shark or polar bear.
Yeah, there's the movie right there. I can think of worse ways to go,
Right?
in much worse ways. What do you like to shoot, Teresa? Anything that moves or just landscapes?
There's anything that's unique. I like chasing things that the auroras or trying to get a comment last night. We had a sandstorm come in, so I didn't get that. I don't know. Just the unique things,
What are the next two things on the list?
Oh, I'll read something and I'll chase it. So we've gone to Galapagos so we could swim with the iguanas that swim in the ocean with you. We've done, I don't know, so many crazy things. But
Her two up next are Churchill and polar bears and swimming with the orcas in Norway.
in Norway, I just learned about that. So they come into the islands and they chase the heron, and you've got dry suits on, and they put you out there with the pods, and yeah, you can go snorkeling with them.
Well, you go ahead and have a good time.
But it's the photograph. You got to chase that photograph.
Yeah, I respect that.
That's cool though. I admire that though, that you guys are seeking out these, to most people, relatively obscure things and just going and doing just to experience and see it. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we have a mantra, and that's every morning we wake up and say, you got 24 hours.
What are we going to do?
Don't screw it up.
Yeah,
right.
So we say that every single morning and go find something fun to do.
So you regret this 1 hour you've wasted?
Not a bit.
That's
Like, man, I could have been swimming with orcas. Now I'm talking to fools.
You are. And we appreciate you doing that.
So holiday season's coming up. We talked about it before. Are you guys going to be able to meet the holiday demand this year?
Never have been.
Never have been. So people need to be ordering now.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing worse than telling somebody, we're out of large and that, the Trekkers or
Yeah.
Pro Gears. But and the truth is we can only make what we can do. So
Sure. Well, Ramon and I also don't want to be the other end of, hey, I ordered you this great gift. It'll be here in 2 weeks. Merry Christmas.
right.
Which I've actually had to do when things didn't show up. So, yeah, I would encourage people to go to the website at buffalowoolco.com. That's buffalowoolco.com and get their orders in before everything's gone. And you guys have some really cool stuff on the website. There's recipes, there's photos, there's a lot of cool blog stuff on there too. I'm looking at the smoked bison ribs with blueberry ancho sauce, Ramon.
Come on.
Yep.
No, yeah. That was stolen from Takabi in Denver. They do an amazing job and came home and had to recreate it.
Yep.
To what temperature should like a bison steak be cooked?
As far as like,
Is it like like beef? You know, there's well done.
It is like beef. It is a fair bit leaner. It doesn't have the intramuscular fat, so I usually cook pretty rare.
Okay.
And the rule of thumb that everyone always says is low and slow. No, I do it blazing hot and really quick.
Okay.
Good crust and, rare all the way through.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah.
This whole world just fascinates me. I mean, I've got a ton of different questions to ask you. What happens when Ron and Theresa decide they don't want to do this anymore? Who takes over this business? What's the next link in the chain? What's the legacy here? Because it's not something everybody can or wants to do. It's not easy, obviously. But I mean, is there a future, in this industry?
Our granddaughter has been working with us now for, I don't know, a little over a year.
Mm-hmm. Grandson, they're both in college now.
Yeah, so they've both been involved. I don't know that that's necessarily the direction that they want to go. Our real mission was to prove the concept and show that it actually is a viable, usable commercial textile. And at some point, somebody who has the passion, who has enough respect for the animal, enough respect for the ranchers, will be probably interested in doing it. Real early on, I think it was at our first Dallas Safari Club show. Somebody walked up and looked around the booth, had just bought his 9-year-old daughter a sweater, looked around and goes, "How much for the company?" And, I usually can spout crap, whatever. That mouth is very seldom not moving, but I was speechless. And I had no idea. And we've had a few other inquiries and offers along the way, but it's got to be somebody who's going to maintain sort of what the belief is in making it here and keeping it as much bison as fiber as possible and actually doing good for the industry. The industry to us is way more important than the product or the company.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I always like to analyze the legacy. Especially it's not really. I don't know what the term I would use. Not really a craft industry, but it's not a huge industry. There are very select individuals such as yourself that actually do this, and my hands thank you for it. Every hunting season, so do my feet. But it's my hope that this company will continue with the vision and the mission and the dedication that you guys have put forth in it to growing it and sustaining it. Because I always like to see U.S.A. manufacturers anytime you can. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that. And from American workers, we all appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ramon, you got anything else, man? Other than your credit card bill, you're going to explain to your wife?
Yeah. No, I was just looking at everything here. I'm very excited. I mean, you've been around for a while now, but I'm just finding out about the product, and it's exciting to hear how it is. I mean, a grassroots, mom and pop, minimal employees, just doing something because they love it, and I think that's going to reflect in the product when I get it in the mail here in a couple of days.
Well, thank you. But that goes back to your question on the marketing. Obviously, we're not doing it well enough if you hadn't heard about it. So, again, we're having fun. We're working with wonderful people, and we are truly blessed every day that we wake up and get to do what we do.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we thank you for your time. Theresa and Ron Miskin of the Buffalo Wool Company. If you've not ordered your products yet, you better go to buffalowoolco.com and get your stuff in the order queue, because it's going to go and it's going to go fast, and Christmas is right around the corner. So, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us today on the Hunting Matters podcast. Please be careful out there in all your adventures. And Ramon and I want to see some. We want to see some of these cool photos that you're going to be doing with these pods of whales and things. That's awesome. We can live vicariously through Theresa's lens there.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for having us on this.
You bet. Thank you guys as well.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production, hosted by HSCF Executive Director Joe Bitar and Ramon Robles. Produced by Ramon Robles. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.